Dinesh D'Souza, the disgraced right-wing filmmaker, best known for his falsehood-laden documentary 2000 Mules, declared that there are good Indians and bad Indians while clarifying that he himself is obviously one of the good ones. D'Souza made his declaration just a few days after President-elect Donald Trump selected Sriram Krishnan to serve as senior White House policy advisor on artificial intelligence. Krishnan's elevation sparked a backlash from the far right, which has targeted Krishnan for his race and views on immigration. On social media, D'Souza defended Krishnan in a post on X saying, there are good and bad Indians. I'm obviously one of the good ones. I suspect this Sriram guy is too. On the other hand, these two Indians pictured below were an intrinsic part of the censorship regime on social media. I wish we could deport them. With the attached pictures of Vijaya Gad and the former general counsel of Twitter and Parag Agarwal, its ex-CEO. Both Gad and Agarwal were fired by Elon Musk after he acquired the social media company in the fall of 2022. Meanwhile, Dinesh D'Souza publicly admitted earlier this month that his roundly debunked film, 2000 Mules, included inaccurate evidence to back up its claims of voter fraud during the 2020 presidential election. D'Souza released a statement on his website and specifically apologized to Mark Andrews, an Atlanta area man who sued after the film wrongly identified him as a so-called mule, repeatedly dropping off ballots. And we've got more from Mediaite. It says the core of D'Souza's conspiracy theory, which has been widely debunked by law enforcement and the media, asserts that Democrats hired mules in the 2020 election to collect and repeatedly drop off ballots at the same drop box over and over. In May, Salem Media Group, which published and distributed the film, also apologized to Andrews and retracted the film from distribution. Upon its release, 2000 Mules was wildly popular in MAGA world and was even screened by Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. All right. Well, Dinesh D'Souza he's an interesting character on his own. I don't know if this needs to be said. Maybe it does. Maybe people get this, but in the Indian community, South Asian community, let's say, there is a lot of conservatism, right? Even if you look at the Indian government, Pakistani government, there's a lot of conservatism there, and a lot of that carries over into the U.S. And it's a little unsettling because these people here these Indians in the United States, they're immigrants, right? And as this whole incident goes to show, as soon as Trump tried to appoint an Indian guy into his cabinet, MAGA turned on him. They said, why are you putting an Indian in your cabinet? Why? We don't like this guy. We don't like his views on immigration. And then Dinesh D'Souza had to come out and say some Indians are good, right? But he's missing the point is that the MAGA people are never going to look at these conservative Indian people as good Indians or bad Indians. All they see is a brown person, and they don't want that person in their cabinet. They don't want that person influencing their white American government that they're pursuing. And people like Dinesh D'Souza like to delude themselves, in my opinion, and think they're like, oh, I'm actually one of them, And that's simply not the case, right? There's so much racism that still exists in this country, specifically coming out of the right wing. And so the people of color who try to align themselves with that and act as if they're separate from all of that, or like, oh, not me, all the other ones, I think that's wholly unacceptable. But I guess I'm one of the bad Indians. I'm not even that Indian. That's a whole other story. But as far as Dinesh D'Souza is concerned, I'm not him, and I'm not trying to be. Jackson, do you have thoughts on this?
He said he one of the good ones because
Yeah.
he's just a cone. He coning, you know what I'm saying? And the power of colonialism is strong across so many different kinds of people. You see this in the Latin American community heavy, the Black community, Indian community, and it all boils back to colonialism and the idea of whiteness. Because more than anything, whiteness is an idea. It's a status symbol more than the color of your skin. Because if it was just about the color of your skin, I could be considered white. I'm half white, half Black. But that's not how this place works. And it's not how it has worked, as you point out. No matter how much tap dancing and cooning Dinesh D'Souza does, he's still a brown person. And that's essentially what the MAGA movement's all about. American means white in this country. And there's a fight for it to mean white in this country. And these people don't hide it. The only thing the right wing talks about on the airwaves is how they're being replaced. We got to stop these black and brown people coming in here. We got to ramp up the drug war even more. Let's go to war with Mexico. These are the type of things that they're talking about now. As you pointed out, Vivek, he is gone. Didn't even last a full week. He up out of there, and it's just white supremacy. Nations and cultures who were at one point dominated by Britain or Spain, they still deal with it now. Dominicans, up in New York, I was out there for 8 years. They just black people who speak Spanish. Some of them know that. A lot of them, they like, no, I'm not black. Like, bro, then what are you? You know what I'm saying? So this is still an issue because at the end of the day, human beings are social creatures who live in hierarchical systems. And we still live in a caste system based on race. So Dinesh D'Souza is trying to get picked and chosen, but he never will be.
He never will be. Even he made this whole documentary about how the Democrats were cheating, and he's still not one of them. He can pretend to be, right? But it's not gonna actually change anything. And you're absolutely right. In this country, you're either white or you're not white, right? There is no distinction between, oh, he's a good one or and even that, right? Even saying I'm a good one, I'm a good Indian, that is embarrassing for you too, right? Just like acknowledging that they don't like the people who look like you based on something that is completely racist, completely unnecessary, completely ignorant, and you're still choosing to align yourself with those people. I think it's really embarrassing for people like Dinesh D'Souza, among all the other reasons why somebody like Dinesh D'Souza would be embarrassed to be Dinesh D'Souza. So you're absolutely right. They see there's a reason why white supremacy is synonymous at this point with MAGA and Trumpism and all of that. And the people who vote for Trump and say, I'm not actually that, though, I'm not a white supremacist, I'm not a racist, it doesn't matter because fundamentally you are supporting it. If you voted for Trump, you are supporting everything that comes with. So that's all I have to say on that. But any final thoughts before our next break?
Well, Dinesh D'Souza's record and background speaks for itself. So at the end of the day, he's just going, he's definitely not one of the good ones at the end of the day, for
No,
sure.
he's kind of like a dumb one, but whatever.
Yeah, definitely.